So let me throw it back to about 4, 5, or 6 years ago. I was about 13 years old, maybe 12 or 13, when I became sexually active. I wasn't using protection, I wasn't using condoms, I wasn't using birth control, I wasn't using anything at all. I tried using a condom for my very first time, but we didn't know how to, it was both of our first times, we didn't know how to make it work. Yeah, I told my doctors and I told my grandparents that I was sexually active, and they got me on birth control. So the very first method I started was Depo, which is the shot that you receive. I believe it was once a month or once every other month. I can't remember. I would go in and I'd get the shot. I skipped the pill completely. You know, most people start off, trying out the pill first and then go to the shot and then the implant and the IUDs and all that. But I went straight to the shot because I suck at remembering things. I was in the Depo till I was 14 or 15. So from 12 or 13 to 14 or 15. It was horrible. I shit you not. I tried literally physically fighting my own boyfriend multiple times, physically fighting my own family. Keep in mind I was going in and out of drug use around this time, but I do think a lot of what I was going through mentally and emotionally was due to the birth control. It started before I got into the drugs, it's kind of almost what, I don't want to blame birth control for getting into drugs, but I feel like the state of mind that the birth control and all the hormones and the relationships I was in at the time put me into the mindset to want to explore drugs, if that makes any sense. Anyway, needless to say, I stopped taking Depo after 2-3 years because of the side effects I was, getting from it. Also, my periods got heavier. Usually people say, oh, you either stop having periods or, you have them less frequently. At first, I stopped having periods completely. I didn't have a whole period for 6 months to a year. It was great. Except I felt like I was PMSing every day, but without the period. And I didn't really experience much else besides mood swings and really heavy, first no periods and then really heavy periods. The few times I did have a period, it was horrible. So once I quit that, I switched to the implant. They take a piercing gun looking thing kind of, but it's not a piercing gun. A little hollow tube, it's a little straw this long and it's white, usually. They put it to your skin after they numb it and do all that extra stuff, clean the area. And they push the button and it just kind of shoots into your arm. At least that's how it was for me, and they just shot it in my arm. And it lived inside my arm right here for just under 3 years. It's good for 4 years, but they take it out at the 3rd year to put it in the next one. I did not love getting it put in, and I especially did not love getting it taken out, which we will get to very soon. It's kind of the whole reason I made this video. And I loved it. The implant was perfect. I had little to no side effects that I noticed anyway. My mood was normal, whatever that is. I didn't have as many mood swings. My periods were pretty normal. I did still not have periods for several months at a time, and then I would get the period. Sometimes I get my period every month. So they're a lot more random now they were with the implant, but they're not as drastic, from having no period for 6 months at a time and then a 6-month long period, and then that's how bad it was with the Depo. With the implant, I had a few times where I'd have a period that lasted a whole month and then it would go away for 2 months, but I feel that's just how it is with everybody with all kinds of birth control methods. Why did I decide to get it removed early? I got my implant removed early despite loving everything about it. Because, I don't know. I actually don't know. I started thinking about if I wanted to, have a baby one day, I'd be harder to just stop it. Instead of just stop taking a pill, birth control, that type of thing. I'd have to go to a doctor and get it not surgically, but minor surgically removed. And basically I just wanted the birth control taken out and I wanted to switch to the pill because I've never tried the pill, and I'm now taking an antidepressant and an anti-anxiety medication, Zoloft and Remeron, for my PTSD. And so now I've realized, I'm more capable of taking medications, so why not try the pill? So I have switched to the pill. I got this taken out yesterday. See, they told me almost 3 years ago, they warned me. They were like, okay, when we put this implant in your arm, you are going to have to come back in 3 years, maybe more, maybe less, to get it removed. Now, keep in mind, this is being inserted into your muscle, like not into your muscle, but right on top of your muscle, under your skin. So we're gonna have to get a scalpel, and we have to slice open your bicep. We're gonna have to get some tweezers, and we're gonna have to reach in there, we're gonna have to pull that bitch out. And I was like, okay, bet. That's fine by me. You know, I don't care. It's just a minor little thing. It's worth not having children. Like, that's all. That's just my main goal here. Choosing not to conceive. It's my main aspiration. As long as we're doing that, I'm cool with whatever y'all gotta do. That's what I thought. 3 years later, almost 3 years later, aka yesterday, time to get it removed. And I'm nervous as fuck. I mean, they're about to cut open my arm with little to no numbing besides just a little bit of lidocaine. She takes the needle and like shoots me up with the fucking lidocaine, takes the scalpel, and this part I can feel, I'm not gonna lie. She said I shouldn't be able to feel anything, but I have had a history of drug abuse, so I do want to say that if you are like watching this video now and you're going to go and get your birth control implant removed, don't let me deter you away from it just because of everything I'm about to tell you. This was my experience. Your experience is not necessarily going to be the same as mine, but I'm going to share my experience because I feel as though it wasn't exactly pleasant and it could happen to other people, and I've heard of it happening to other people already. So I just want to at least have it out there so you know, because like I wish I could have known, because then I probably wouldn't have gotten the implant regardless of the conveniency and all of the amazing things that came with it that I really did love. Laying there with my arm to the side, she makes an incision from like right here to here. And I felt it. You know, she said I shouldn't feel it, but I've had a history with drugs, a lot of drugs. And so, you know, whenever doctors give me pain medications, it doesn't usually help. Like, I can feel most of the things that they do whenever they try to numb me because I have an extremely high tolerance to pain medicines and things like that. So I didn't want to tell her this though, of course, so I just kind of just laid there and it hurt. It didn't hurt like unbearably. Like I have 2 tattoos and it hurt about as bad as the tattoo. The main thing that hurt for me was, it didn't really hurt. It was like an uncomfortable, like almost unbearably uncomfortable feeling. Like not painful, just unbearably uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. Like I'm trying to compare it to something, but I feel her digging in my arm, but it didn't hurt. It was just like, I can feel you in my arm and you shouldn't be there, so it's alarming and uncomfortable, but it's not painful. Anyway, okay, should just be no time now. I've got it in my hand, just gotta pull it out and then we'll wrap you up. Feel her, you know, go to pull it out, but like, it doesn't pull out, it just kind of tugs. And I'm like, well, why can I feel the thing that's not supposed to be attached to my body tugging at my body? That's a straw, why can I feel it? Like, as if it's part of my body. So I kind of look in the corner of my eye, because I'm looking over here, you know, trying to completely ignore the fact, like, my arm does not exist right now. This half of me is, nope, I'm far from it. Like, if I look at blood that is not coming out of my vagina, I'm gonna pass out. So I'm looking away, but this time I'm looking over, like, why am I feeling this tugging? Like, so I look over, and she's looking at her assistant, looking back down, and I look at her, looking back down, and I'm like, looking kind of nervous, and that's making me nervous. That's not okay. Like, it'll just be another minute, and I'm like, oh, will it? That's great. Why? And she's, in the meantime, sitting here with this straw poking out of my arm, just like spinning it around and tugging on it and trying to just detach it from this muscle. Because you see, what had happened was the tube that has been, you know, paying rent in my arm, taking up residence, cohabitating with me for the past 2.5 odd years, has decided to no longer pay rent but fully lay out a whole fucking mortgage and basically attached itself to my bicep. Muscle grew into the end of the implant and attached itself, like it fused into my skin, like into my muscle. And eventually she just fucking snips it and I'm like, hopefully I didn't need that. Here we are. Originally, they had it wrapped in an ace bandage. This bandage didn't come with it, that's why I'm taking it off. Don't be alarmed. But it was like an ace bandage that was only on there for 24 hours. It's been less than 24 hours technically, but This I have to keep on until it falls off on its own, which she said should be 3 to 7 days. You can see it's nice and bloody because they didn't stitch it, they didn't super glue it, they didn't do shit. They just cut open a hole in my arm, ripped a fucking implant out, slapped some fucking bandages on it, and was like, you're good to go. So, here I am in my hole. Overall, though, the main question being, which birth control... Now I'm on the pill, by the way. I'm on the pill. I've literally skipped it to begin with, went straight to Depo, then the implant, and now I'm finally trying the pill, which is what I should have started with to begin with, but that's me. Which one worked best for me and why? And which one worked worse for me and why? Which one worked best for me so far? I can't really say much on the... I've tried all of them, by the way, if you've counted. Depo, implant, and now the pill. Only one I haven't tried is the IUD, and that's because I asked for that before I switched to the pill. I was like, can I go to the IUD? Because I've heard it's like an implant, basically, but it's in your cooch instead of your bicep. I was like, can I get that? And she was like, I've stopped doing those for women who haven't conceived or had a child or been pregnant at any time. I was like, why? She was like, because the last few I tried inserting them in, flipped out and like grabbed onto me and screamed to high heaven and this and that and the other. And I was like, why? And she was like, it's extremely painful, like even if you have had children. And I was like, I'm just gonna hard pass on that one. Like, since I posted my little story yesterday about this, I had an overwhelming amount of people just kind of fill up my inbox saying, hey, I had this happen too, or I didn't have this happen, or I tried this method, or I didn't try this method, you know. And one of the girls said she did try the IUD and that it was pain-free, like, you know, she had no problems with it. But then the others were like, oh yeah, it was the worst pain ever. So, again, one thing is don't take anything that I say or anything anybody else says as Bible, like as something set in stone, because everybody's body is different, everybody's going to react differently to things, some people aren't going to react at all, just depends. So yeah, for me, for myself, I loved the implant. Even after the whole pain and fear that I went through with getting it removed, I fucking loved it. Like, that was my favorite method so far. It's just, it was enough to make me not want to get a new one because of how the muscle grew into mine. I had a girl or two message me and say they had the same thing happen to them, and that's why they also didn't go back and get another one. Your muscles probably won't do that, you know? So don't let that deter you completely from getting it. Or do, it's just up to you, but like, what happened to me may or may not happen to you too, so don't just take it as like an absolute. Only things I didn't like about the implant was, yeah, just the removal and the insertion. Now the Depo, I hated it. I hated it. I hated going and getting that shot, because I hate shots. Who doesn't? I mean, if you genuinely enjoy shots, seek help. Seek professional help. You're a masochist, boy. Save that shit for the bedroom. But yeah, I hated like the way it made me feel, the way it made me think, the way it made me treat other people and myself, the way it, like, I just hated Depo. But I've heard of girls that just loved it. Like, for them, it helped them. They never got pregnant, they never had mood swings, they didn't gain weight, they didn't lose weight, which was perfect, like how the implant was perfect for me, besides insertion and removal. I hope you gained something from this video. I hope I didn't scare you from any kind of birth control method. Like, do what I did or don't. Like, don't turn your body into a freaking human guinea pig, but also do, because if you don't, you're never gonna know which method could work for you and which ones can't. But then again, if you do, you are going to endure a lot of mental, emotional, and physical turmoil in the process, because science hasn't gotten to that level yet where we can test things on our bodies without harming it. So yeah, good luck. I'm sorry that the government taxes so heavily on our feminine hygiene products. I'm sorry that only women are forced to be the ones to endure contraceptive things. But regardless, keep that shit up, keep not procreating, keep this world a better fucking place without more bastards like me. Deuces.